Hello, and welcome to the Park Podcast, the Myers Park SGA's podcast series. My name is Carson, and I'm the senior representative here to answer all your questions about Myers Park. On today's episode, we'll be answering questions from the Instagram poll we posted on our SGA account, MPHS_SGA. With me today, I have three of my fellow representatives. Guys, go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Kate, and I'm a senior representative.
Hi, I'm Paige, and I'm a sophomore representative.
Hi, I'm Andrea Oxrider, and I'm also a sophomore representative.
So, one of the questions that we got on our IG poll was, when are school-required ACT and SATs occurring? And I actually spoke to Counselor Jenkins about this, and while there is no school-required SAT, there is a PSAT and ACT each year, but we aren't sure what that will look like this year. But she said there will be an October option for the ACT and 2 PSAT options in the spring, with one for juniors and another for sophomores, but we don't know the dates yet.
Okay, so now we're going to touch on a little bit about virtual school. The struggles with virtual school are kind of just if you have too many distractions or if you aren't good with time management, but I think it's really a good way to learn how to time manage for your future and learn new life skills that we wouldn't learn if we were going to in-person school.
Yes, I totally agree with what Paige is saying. I think that this is a great way to show in the future how you deal with change, and I think for myself, I really struggle with not having that in-person connection with my classmates and my teachers. I think more of what I enjoy with it is being able to be at home and find my little space at my house that makes me motivated at least a little bit more enough to get up in the morning and actually do work.
Yeah, for me, virtual school obviously hasn't been ideal, just to highlight some of the negatives, but to look at some of the positives. Obviously, for me, someone who doesn't have a desk, I have to sit in my dining room table, and for those of you who don't know, I'm a triplet, and both my parents work from home, so I am constantly distracted, which isn't great, not gonna lie, but I feel like I try to manage it well.
So our next question is it hard to balance AP and IB and also do a sport? So, Andrea, I know you swim, so what's your experience with that?
Yes, well, recently with COVID, my swim schedule has changed. It normally was after school, but since the school times changed, my swim practice has also changed, and I've been up in the morning at 5:45 doing it before school, which has been a crazy, again, what I mentioned before, having to learn how to deal with change. I feel like I've balanced it pretty well with knowing what is important to me and what I should be focusing on, which of course is school. School is something you should really be focusing on. I found that also with the sports, it's a way to take my mind off and have that exercise outside of looking at my screen. So it's a great way for me to start off my morning. For people who do sports after school, I think that that's also just another, it just pushes you to get out of your house and do something if your sport allows you to do that during this time. So I think to manage it, you just need to keep in your mind that school is, yes, so important, but also to look at it as a way that you are just getting your mind off of all the crazy stuff that's happening right now.
Yeah, for me, as of last year as a junior, I hadn't made the Myers Park golf team my freshman and sophomore year. Obviously, it was really, really competitive, and all the guys on that team are really good, but I was able to make the team last year, and unfortunately, during our first match of the season, while we were hitting balls on the driving range, CMS came out with a statement saying that all sports would be postponed indefinitely, which was a real slap in the face, at least for me. But I'd say with managing my school during that time, especially during practices for us, usually before the season started, we would have practices Tuesdays and Thursdays after school, and with us practicing at Myers Park Country Club in Charlotte, I mean, it was pretty convenient, and especially at that time of the year, it really didn't, or it got dark out earlier, so it was easy to just get home at like 6 o'clock or so and still have plenty of time to do schoolwork. So I'd say managing being able to do a sport and being able to keep up with your studies, especially if you're doing IB or AP classes, it was definitely manageable. So I wouldn't say if you're thinking about being in a particular sport that you should be nervous or scared about like managing your time, because this really hasn't been an issue for me. So
Yeah. To go off of that, I agree. It's not really, it sounds impossible just because AP and IB, you're going to have a ton of work. And then with a sport, you're also going to have a ton of time that you have to commit to it. But honestly, with field hockey, it's definitely helped me manage my time better because I have less of it. And so I have to be more effective with how I use it. So I definitely think it's been a good thing, honestly, for me to do both. So yeah, I think that you should definitely, if you're considering playing a sport, definitely go for it because it's such a good experience to have.
So just kind of segmenting away from sports, I want to, I guess, get your guys' opinions, because I'm sure, Kate, I know you take AP classes, right?
I take IB.
Oh, my bad. And Gray, Paige, do you guys take IB by chance?
I'm in IB and I have an AP.
Okay, well, I'm just curious to get your guys' opinions because for me, if you are a prospective student or you know someone who is that's interested in taking AP classes in the future or currently is in IB, just from my point of view, I took IB classes my freshman and sophomore year until I decided to not do that anymore just because I wanted to take college courses, which
Right, yeah.
I think that was the best path for me, but
That's also a great option. If you want to take CPCC courses, definitely a good option.
yeah, and for me, I'd say doing IB and AP, it's certainly a lot more work and or compared to like standardized classes, but it really isn't too much to manage. At least for me, I'd say my freshman and sophomore year, obviously with IB, you have extra things that you are required to do, such as volunteering. I think there are also IB projects. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, that would be right.
The personal project, right?
Yep,
That's what it was?
yep.
Yeah. But honestly, I think the pros certainly outweigh the cons because all the IB teachers are terrific. Same for AP. So if you really want to better your education, I would certainly look into that. And obviously, if you're looking to boost your GPA, that is certainly a good option because I'd say I didn't have the greatest grades first couple of years in IB, but I'd say getting that like half-point bonus or whatever in each of my classes certainly helped me out a lot. So
For sure. And also, anyone can take these classes, so don't feel like maybe you're not like allowed to take them or you're not eligible because everyone is. So if you're interested, definitely go for it.
And can I touch on what Carson was saying? I'm a sophomore right now and I'm doing the personal project and I'm in IB and I'm taking an AP. And I think that classes can be difficult and there definitely is a lot of work, less now that we are in online school. But I think that everything is manageable if you just try and work on your time management and just designate a certain amount of time for each class that you're working on and make sure you know you're gonna get this done by the certain deadline and don't let yourself slack off.
To segue into our next question, what is the new plan for rotational school in December? So this is a new piece of information we've gotten just a couple of days ago from Charlotte Mecklenburg. So we're actually starting to phase into in-person school, but it's going to start with pre-K on October 12th. Then it's going to be November 2nd with K through 5, and then November 23rd with middle school. And then the weeks of December 14th and 21st, I think, for high school students in ABC groups. So high schoolers, which is us, we will be going back just for testing, I believe. So this definitely looks a lot different from probably what we would have expected or hoped, but it's just something that we've learned that maybe could be a sign of getting back into in-person school, hopefully, in the future. I don't know.
With virtual school, how can we get involved with clubs?
Okay, so I know from SGA that we are starting to push more virtual clubs. I'm seeing some stories on Instagram that are pushing interest meetings on Zoom, and I know that our ICC co-chairs, Jayla and Emsley, are arranging a virtual stampede. So definitely that's something to keep an eye out for, because you can still be involved in clubs even though we're in virtual school, and it's definitely something that's worth it.
And I just want to say something to the new freshmen this year that are hopefully listening to the podcast. Last year, SGA made a really good effort of making Stampede so much fun. So even though this is virtual, I just would like to say, Stampede is very fun, and you go around and you see all the clubs, and all the clubs get very involved. So even though it is virtual, SGA is still going to make an effort to make it that as fun, or at least half as fun as it is. So I just suggest you to keep your eyes open and look at the clubs, because they can be very beneficial to have a club your high school year.
Yeah, and speaking on freshmen joining clubs, I think that this is definitely not the way we wanted the school year to go, and I don't think that this is the best way to do clubs, but it's the only option we have right now, and it's going to be good no matter what, because the clubs are all so much fun. And I think that for freshmen, a big thing is don't be nervous to join a club meeting or to ask someone about the club if you have any interest in it whatsoever, because everyone is pretty accepting, and I think that it's just a really good idea to just put yourself out there and just try and join these amazing clubs we have at our school.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I'd also say that make sure to look at the Mars Park morning announcements next week, obviously. Not just for the Stampede, but obviously all future and upcoming SGA events will be posted on there. Obviously, don't forget to look at our Instagram at MPHS_SGA for any future events. So stay tuned for those.
For sure. Okay, our final question is just what we miss about Myers Park. So something I definitely miss is just getting to see people that I wouldn't normally get to see, and just the interactions that I took for granted with my teachers and my peers. That's something I definitely miss for sure.
I definitely, just to piggyback off of that, I miss that so much. I think just also seeing how some of my teachers now virtually have been trying to make little bits to connect with us. A shout out to Mr. Schoaf. He has been trying to do daily jokes, which is really great, and I think just encourage everybody to try to talk back to their teachers, because I feel deeply for them. So I definitely miss that, and also seeing the beautiful quad. It's so pretty, even not when it's raining though. I don't miss when it's raining and everyone's in their umbrellas, but I do miss the quad and being able to get that fresh air time in between classes.
Yeah, for sure. I have a lot of respect for the teachers during this time. They had a huge transition, way bigger than us, from switching their curriculum from in-person to online. So good for them. But what I miss is definitely the transition as well, as Anne Gray said. Just having those couple minutes, just walk across the quad and get outside and see everybody was just really nice.
Yeah, for me, I think it's hard to find anything sadder than to not be able to see your friends every single day, which I feel like there's always the little things that kind of make in-person school, I almost take it for granted, like whether it's freshman year, Mr. Clark waking me up from my 8 a.m. naps, or just rapping in the lunchroom. It's just always the small things that you'll kind of just remember over time. So hopefully we'll be able to do that in the near future, but only time will tell, I guess. And that concludes this week's episode. Thank you to all of my fellow representatives for joining us today. It's so important to stay connected with our peers, especially in times like these. In order to stay updated with all things Mars Park, it's important to follow at Mars Park High School and at MPHS_SGA on Instagram. Also, sign up for the Mustang email chain to receive important information about Mars Park. You can subscribe to the MPHS PTSO website. If you have any questions you'd like to add to the podcast, you can DM either Instagram account. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another Mars Park High School Student Government podcast episode. We look forward to having you. Bye.